Welcome to the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I'm your host, Asif Badi. And before we get into football content, I think we do have to take a moment in time just to pay some respects to the lives that were lost with Charlie Kirk and the students at Evergreen High School in Colorado. And obviously, Charlie Kirk was the more high-profile case, and it was the more publicized event because those two were occurring at the same time, unfortunately. And say what you want about Charlie Kirk, and I'm somebody who didn't necessarily agree with the man on his opinions, but they were just that, opinions. And I think we are in a very, very dire state when we can't even agree to disagree on things without resorting to violence. And it cost a man who's 31 years old, who left a wife and two kids behind, his life. And we are in a sick, sick world. And the students at Evergreen High School, they had nobody deserves to be gunned down and shot. Nobody deserves death. And we are just in a very, very dark place. So I just want to, pay my respects to the Kirk family and to the lives lost at Evergreen High School and their families. And I think we all just need to take a second and pay our respects to them. And I'm going to leave it at that. And again, I don't like making it such a drastic turn from a dire topic like this into sports, but sports is the one thing that unifies us. That's the one thing that I think everybody can get behind and acknowledge is the thing that just brings people together. So without further ado, let's get on with the show for the preview of the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles in week 2 of the NFL season. Woo! Week 2 is here, ladies and gentlemen. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles are about to face off. Super Bowl rematch. And I think every Eagle fan is not necessarily worried about the Kansas City Chiefs because they did not look good in week 1, right? A weird game between them and the Chargers, and then also a weird game between Philadelphia and Dallas. Now, both teams are going into this game not necessarily feeling the best about themselves, I would say. I think Philadelphia left that Dallas Cowboys game and said to themselves, damn, we left a lot of meat on the bone here. And quite frankly, they got some pretty damn good luck with these dropped passes by CeeDee Lamb and company, right? Although Dak Prescott did get bailed out with a couple of dropped interceptions by the Philadelphia Eagles, right? So we got to play both sides of the coin there. But nonetheless, Philadelphia didn't leave that game thinking they played extremely well. Jalen Hurts did. And, that's about it. I really don't think anybody else played that great. Mailata got worked. Lane Johnson had a rough game. Landon Dickerson got hurt. I mean, it was not a great game by anybody on the Philadelphia Eagle offense. A.J. Brown got one target. It was just not good. However, with Kansas City, same story with them. The only player who played excellent, the only person who played excellent in Kansas City for that team was Patrick Mahomes. I thought he looked absolutely phenomenal in that game. I thought he played great. And the rest of his team just did not look ready to play. They tried to win the game on aura and mystique, and sometimes it's just not going to work when you're coming off a Super Bowl loss the way you did, and when you're playing against a Jim Harbaugh type team who's not going to be afraid of anybody, right? And Justin Herbert played absolutely great in that game, and it led to a very high-yielding passing attack, which is something I think Philadelphia in this game can exploit if they play their cards correctly. And we have the injury report in Philadelphia where Landon Dickerson was a full participant in practice, and that bodes well because Chris Jones is on the Kansas City Chiefs, and he is still the best defensive tackle in all of football, the most disruptive force that we have in the NFL, considering that you could play him all over the defensive line. And if Landon Dickerson isn't 100%, we're going to have a massive, massive problem. Because, like I said earlier, Mailata didn't have a great game. Lane Johnson was quiet for the most part. Again, I don't think he ever has a bad game per se. But this offensive line did not play the way they wanted to against Dallas. Dallas really played well and extremely hard. Kansas City Chiefs losing a game against a division rival in the Los Angeles Chargers is going to come here and recognize, hey, we got to step our game up. And this was the same team that belt the ass, beat us down in the Super Bowl. So you best believe that Kansas City had this game circled on their calendar and they're ready to go. Philadelphia is going to have to answer the same call, and I'm going to have some concerns and some things that I think we can exploit against the Kansas City Chiefs in order to beat them. But before we do that, we introduce the show. This is the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I am your host, Asif Badi, and like you, I am a Birds fan that talks about the Birds, only the Birds, and nothing but the Philadelphia Eagles. So please do us a favor here. Help us grow this channel organically by shooting this video a thumbs up, commenting your thoughts in the comment section below, be part of the discussion, and subscribe to the channel. Also, check us out on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and leave a 5-star review, because in the end, it doesn't cost you a damn thing to subscribe and like the channel. So we thank you for your support on the opposite side of the camera and on the opposite side of the airwaves. Drive safely out there, everybody. All right. Listen, I am an Eagles fan. I try to be objective, but this is a game that I'm walking into believing that Philadelphia is going to win. I'm not going to hide that. I'll just give the prediction right off the top of the show. But reasons why I think Philadelphia is going to win. One, if Landon Dickerson is a full participant in practice, Philadelphia believes he's good to go. Now, I have talked about it in the past that I felt Landon Dickerson and the Philadelphia Eagles should have let him sit for the first part of the year, let him get his body right, let him get his knee and his back right, and have him on the back end of the season. So when you go to make your playoff push, he's fully ready to go, integrated in the offense, as fresh as he can possibly be, and then go into the playoffs with a absolutely healthy and fully loaded offensive line, right? But nonetheless, he's probably going to play. So on a good note, he's going to be out there starting on the field. And the other thing that I think is going to be beneficial for Philadelphia is the fact that actually Dallas kept the game close. It was almost like a wake-up call. Now, it was a very funky game with the thunderstorm and the delay and all that jazz, right? The Dallas Cowboys in that game went right down the field on them and scored on their first opening drive, really their first 3 drives, but the latter 2 drives were assisted by big pass interference penalties and penalties nonetheless. Do I think Philadelphia is a more disciplined team than what we saw on opening night? I do. Now, I know we have a younger defense and we have a lot of youth on that side of the ball, but when you have talented players on each level of the defense, you would think they have to show some pride after a performance like that. And they did in the second half after the delay when they had more fresh legs because they had an hour in the locker room to rest up, right? But that was also a game where Jalen Carter did not play. And again, Kansas City is going to be seeing Jalen Carter, albeit he's playing for free. But I think he's going to go out there and try to show like, hey, I really let my team down the week before. I'm going to come out here and be a menace on the field in a clean way. Don't cross that line, Jalen Carter, right? So you're getting a motivated Jalen Carter. You're going to get a defense that I think is going to show some pride in the performance that they had. And I think you're going to get a more disciplined output by the Philadelphia Eagle defense against the Kansas City Chiefs offense that, like I said, outside of Patrick Mahomes, did not look stellar. Travis Kelce, I know he had the big touchdown in the game, but he did not look like Travis Kelce. He looked old. Marquise Brown, again, quality player in the NFL. If he's your best receiver, I think you got a big problem on your hands. Same thing with Smith-Schuster. Xavier Worthy's probably not going to play. Kansas City did not necessarily have a strong running game against the Chargers, right? Again, I think you're looking at this game and you're saying to yourself, where exactly are we going to exploit Kansas City on the offensive side of the ball? Me, I think you could throw it on Kansas City. Justin Herbert proved it with Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, and Keenan Allen. Talented group of wide receivers, but Philadelphia has A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson. Dallas got it, right? So we have players here on all levels that we can exploit some matchups on the defensive side of the ball. And Jalen Hurts, if he plays like he did against the Dallas Cowboys, he looks to be as comfortable as he ever had in the National Football League. And part of the reason for that is the fact that he actually won his Super Bowl title early on in his career. So now that monkey, that weight is lifted off the shoulders. And now you can just go ahead and play free football. And that's the beauty of winning a title early. That's what happened with Patrick Mahomes. That's what happened with Tom Brady. It's what's happening with Jalen Hurts. I think you're going to see a really strong output from Jalen Hurts because he gets up for games against big quarterbacks. That's what he does. He always wants to show, I can hang my cleats with these guys too. These guys and eye to eye. That's what he believes. And I think he has shown that time and time again. When he plays against these guys, he puts up comparable numbers against these top flight quarterbacks. And he always puts out a strong offensive output against these quarterbacks whenever they play against each other. And when I say they play against each other, I know you can't play quarterback to quarterback. You get my point here. One team is led by one guy, one team is led by another star guy, and they're going head to head, right? All that being said, though, it's not like we're going to get the same Kansas City Chiefs team that we saw on Friday night against the Chargers. Like I said, they have pride too. They still have the mystique. They're still the dynasty in the NFL. And a bad year for Kansas City is an overtime loss in the AFC Championship game. So they are still a team and an organization to be respected because they still have Andy Reid. You still have Patrick Mahomes. You still do have Travis Kelce, who, again, looked old, but is still savvy out there. And then they have Chris Jones on the defensive side of the ball, who is the most dominant defensive lineman in the NFL today, in my opinion. So you still have all these pieces here. And again, Landon Dickerson's back is hurting. That matchup with Chris Jones, if he doesn't hold up well on the injury side of things, Landon Dickerson, it's going to be a long day for Jalen Hurts, and that's going to really disrupt this offense. But now, the key thing that I think, like I said, we can exploit on the Kansas City Chiefs defense is this pass defense that they have. And it's the ability to throw the ball against this team that we proved we can do in the Super Bowl that we have to go out and show again. Because if you go out here and play this game and not target A.J. Brown more than one time, now again, Dallas played them exceptionally well in coverage. I felt that watching the game. I thought they took away a lot of stuff underneath, and it wasn't like A.J. Brown was going to run 9 balls on these guys all day because of how much pressure the defensive line was generating for the Dallas Cowboys. But that still does not excuse Kevin Patullo for not throwing the ball to A.J., for not giving more opportunities for Devontae Smith, for calling the same exact run play up the middle when obviously it was not working. You do have to find a way to change things up. Now, I know they have a plan. They always go into a game trying to, you go into a football game trying to exploit something and have a methodology of how to attack a defense, right? And that's why sometimes you see teams just run the same thing over and over again because it's setting up a play down the field or down later on in the game. So again, it doesn't excuse Kevin Patullo for not targeting A.J. Brown one time. I think they're going to draw up more plays for him. I think the game plan that they bring to AJ and Devontae is going to have them more engaged because that's another accusation that's out there that he wasn't engaged and he wasn't blocking as hard and he wasn't running his routes as hard, etc. Whatever the case may be, I think you're going to get a more engaged A.J. Brown. And against this Kansas City Chiefs secondary, it's not like they have any stellar corners out there that we have to be afraid of. And the second level with their linebackers got exploited the week before against Keenan Allen underneath, something that Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith, I believe, can do just as fine of a job at doing. And if Jalen Hurts is not afraid to throw over the middle and he's able to exploit some of these mismatches on defense with Jahan Dotson and Devontae and Dallas and A.J. Brown and be able to run the way he did against Dallas, plus you sprinkle in Saquon Barkley, who's still the the absolute engine of this offense with Jalen Hurts. Kansas City has a lot to deal with here. And if you get them early, if you catch them early enough in a game where you go down the field and score 7-0 early on and get a stop on the subsequent drive, I have a feeling Kansas City is going to sit there and you're going to feel a little bit of panic on some defensive players' minds. And if you're able to do that, you saw what happened in week 1 with Tranquil and Chris Jones on the last drive where Chris Jones tried to do a little bit too much and broke contain. And Justin Herbert broke contain, when he got outside, got the first down, ended the game effectively. Jeez, I can't even speak. Good Lord. And I got a microphone. Can you believe it? Jeez Louise. The point being is, you're going to throw the ball against Kansas City. And if you get up early, you're going to get in their heads. You get in their heads, all of a sudden, nobody runs the same route the way they did in practice. Everybody starts to pout. People start to get a little, sweaty in their palms. And all of a sudden, doubt starts to creep in because then you say to yourself, hey, they boat raced us in the Super Bowl. The last time we played them in the regular season was a couple years ago, but they eked out a win then. And listen, Philadelphia, for whatever it's worth, I don't ever remember Philadelphia outside of the collapse time, that 7 to 8 game stretch, where they just have been a bad team. They just haven't been a bad team in a long time. They're always going to be in ball games. And with a team that doesn't believe in momentum as a tangible thing, like Jalen Hurts doesn't seem to believe, and where everybody is lockstep embodying what this guy believes in, you're going to be in every game. And if the game is close and he has the ball in his hands, he being Jalen Hurts in this offense, I just believe they're going to score if that's what the game dictates. If you need 7, they're going to get 7. If you need to get into field goal range, he's going to get you into field goal range. It's the same way I would feel about Patrick Mahomes. Now, here's a guy. I'm not going to do the meme. I'm only kidding. But same way with Patrick Mahomes, right? It always seems like every time you need a big drive and a big play, he's the one to make it. It's the same way I feel about Jalen Hurts. When you need a big drive and you need a big play, he's going to make it. And against this Kansas City Chiefs defense, I think the big plays are going to have to come through the air. Exploit the secondary, exploit the second level, catch them underneath because they cannot defend crossing routes. We saw it against Kansas City. We saw it against the Los Angeles Chargers last week. Some play action, some rollouts. They're not able to hold contain. You do that, and Jordan Mailata plays better, and Lane Johnson plays better, and you get a little bit more out of the ground game. I think you got a bad matchup for Kansas City. So, all that being said, you're going to look at my final score prediction. And you're going to be like, what the hell, Asif? I thought you would say this is a blowout. No. Kansas City's too good of a team. They're too prideful. They still have too much pedigree for me to just say they're going to get blown out. But I do have Philadelphia winning this game comfortably. Okay? I think we are going to win 31-20. I think Philadelphia is going to come out and just have their talent take over at some point for a drive or two. And I think that's going to be enough to separate the gap, because say what you want about Kansas City, as great as they are, the amount of talent on that offense versus our offense and their defense versus our defense, I lean towards Philadelphia, especially because we brought in Zadarius Smith and we brought in Tank Bigsby. So it's going to be just loads and loads of better players on the field. And, they're not able to stretch the field. It bodes well for Philadelphia in the secondary. They got torched, but that's my score prediction. 31-20, Philadelphia Eagles winning comfortably against the Kansas City Chiefs, starting off the season 2-0 before we go and play the Rams. And I don't know what your thoughts are on this game. I'm excited to watch this game at 4:25 on Fox Game of the Week, by the way, which is awesome. And I just have a feeling that this is going to be a game where the noise calms down about Kevin Patullo. I think he's going to call a better game than what he did against Dallas. And I think you're going to see A.J. Brown look like A.J. Brown again. And hopefully that noise will start to calm down a little bit more. I will end the show on this, though. If we somehow win this game and it looks the same as Dallas, where A.J. Brown only gets a target and Devontae doesn't have that big of a game, all of a sudden the rumors about trading A.J. Brown start to become just a little bit more real and tangible. I think that will be something to keep an eye on, but I have a feeling they're going to try to cater to A.J. Brown, get him going a little bit, because obviously one target, one catch in a game for 9 yards, it ain't going to cut it. He's too good of a player. He's the best receiver that we probably have had in franchise history. He deserves the ball. He's that good of a player. Arguably top 2 or 3 receiver in the National Football League. On some days, he's probably the best wide receiver in the National Football League just because of his physical ability. So he deserves the football. And I think Kevin Patullo and this offense is going to do whatever they can to get him and Devontae Smith involved early in this game. And when you do that, you stretch the defense out. And now all of a sudden, the running lanes open up for Saquon Barkley. And we know he can hit his head on the goalpost if you give him a sliver of room, which is what I believe is going to happen in this game. So Philadelphia is going to win very handily. And we'll be seeing here next time talking about the reaction to the game and why the Eagles right now are going to be considered the best team in the NFL. Hey! Thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles Podcast.